What's going on, Knicks fans? Welcome to another edition of Knicks Latest. The Knicks defeat the Philadelphia 76ers once again in Abu Dhabi, 113-104 in a game where Josh Hart was out, in a game where OG Anunoby was back. Mike Brown once again experimenting with lineups. Just overall, what you wanted to see from the New York Knicks heading into the weekend overseas. Cannot be more happy, I would say, about what this team looks like. OG Anunoby comes back. He looks like he could be the best player on the floor. He's in rhythm. He's hitting threes. He's playing defense. Josh Hart, even though he's out, no big deal. Knicks get people stepping up from the bench. Yabusele leading my favorite sequence of the night, hitting a three, then getting a block, then leading a fast break that leads into a Mikal Bridges layup. The Knicks just looked like a different basketball team all weekend. Different lineups, small ball, 5 out, just everything we have been begging for Tom Thibodeau to do, Mike Brown has done in the first 2 games. It is a new era in Knicks basketball, the Mike Brown effect, ladies and gentlemen. Ball movement, 3-pointers, pushing the pace, 5 out, different types of lineups. And to me, that is the biggest takeaway from Abu Dhabi. It's not so much that the Knicks won 2 games. It's not so much that, Mitchell Robinson looks great and Deuce McBride looks great and Garrison Matthews even looks good and Jalen Brunson looks like he could be comfortable in this offense. It's the fact that this is just a completely different team. Mike Brown has his team playing a different brand of basketball, and it's a brand of basketball, if I'm being honest with you, is just more modern. And that's no slight to Tom Thibodeau. It's, Tom came in, he changed the culture of the New York Knicks franchise. He came in and set a bar that they have not been able to reach for a really long time. So I'm forever grateful for Tom Thibodeau, but this is feeling like a Steve Kerr to Mark Jackson situation where it's like we needed to go up a level, and we found the coach who did that. The Knicks look like they are actual contenders this year. They look like they are formidable on offense. Not like they didn't look like that before, but it was more just kind of based off the greatness of Jalen Brunson. Now, when you're moving the basketball, running fast breaks, running secondary breaks, moving off the ball, pushing the pace, you look like a completely different team. This doesn't even feel like the same Knicks team that was last year. When I'm making my predictions and when I'm thinking going forward about the Knicks winning the East or winning the NBA Finals, in my head, I have a version of the team I saw last year. In my head, I have the version that has a hard time guarding in the half court because they're dropping everything with Karl Anthony Towns, not aggressive defensively. In my head, they have the version of the team that has trouble bringing the ball up and are forcing the ball at Jalen Brunson at the top of the key, or not even top of the key, at the half court line with 10 seconds left to go of the shot clock. Those days are no longer here in New York. It's a different day, and I'm very excited to see it. Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be trials and tribulations. That doesn't mean that there's going to be some, this is going to be smooth sailing from here on out, and the Knicks are going to win the championship, and we're not going to have our complaints about Mike Brown, and we're not going to have our rotation questions, and they're not going to lose a couple games where you're kind of scratching our heads. But it does mean that they are a completely different team than last year, and any prediction or any analysis that you have done in your head that relates to the team last year could be thrown out the window, because this is just a completely different team, and I cannot wait to see them in action. Mitchell Robinson, a lot was made out about whether or not he would be the starter going into the regular season. I think he proved that he's going to be the starter, not because Josh Hart was out or anything, but just because of how good he looked defensively all trip in Abu Dhabi. Fantastic defender, grabbing boards, also running the break as well. OG Anunoby had a nice alley-oop to him to start the game. Just looks really impressive with Mike Brown, under Mike Brown's tutelage. Looks very comfortable. He's a vet now. Mitch is no longer our young guy. He's our vet, which is a very interesting thing to say, and it's an interesting thing to think. This man has been here with the Knicks since, at a time when nobody wanted to watch the Knicks, and now he's our starting center, getting things done defensively. Josh Hart out. I just mentioned him. The one thing that I'm kind of like in my head about a little bit is like, all right, well, how does Josh Hart fit into all this? Not that he's not going to fit in, but the Knicks have looked so good. I wouldn't say without him, but in this experiment in Abu Dhabi. We even had a lineup, the small ball lineup that a lot of people were clamoring for, which would have Deuce in the starting lineup or playing with the starters. The 5-out lineup with Jalen Brunson, Deuce McBride, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Karl Anthony Towns. We had that for a little bit. So Mike Brown is not afraid to go to that lineup. That's not a Josh Hart lineup. Mitchell Robinson looks like he's going to start. That's not a Josh Hart lineup. Josh is probably going to be relegated to the bench. where I think he should come off. I think he could be a super sub, one of those type of players who might play 25, 30 minutes a game, how Tom Thibodeau used him, maybe to a slightly lesser degree. But the problem with Josh Hart is always, okay, how does he affect spacing on the floor? Is the spacing going to be messed up with Josh? And I don't think it will be. I think Josh, to me, there's been some talk on Knicks Twitter. There's been some talk amongst my Knicks friends about maybe using Josh Hart as a trade piece. I don't really see it. I think you need someone like Josh on this team to win the NBA championship. You need like a Swiss Army knife. You need somebody who's going to do all the ancillary things. You need somebody who's going to do the dirty work. And Josh is exactly that. I am kind of worried that he tweaked his back a little bit. He has his splinter on his finger, like splint on his finger, on his shooting hand. He's already banged up, and we haven't even gotten to the first game of the season. But I am very confident that Josh is going to find his way to fit in, because that is what Josh's career has always been, is finding a way to fit in. So am I worried about the man whose whole career has been finding a way to fit in, fitting into this team? No, he's going to find a way to fit in. That's what he's done his whole career. So I'm excited for Josh Hart to come back. I hope he's healthy enough to play at least one preseason game so that I can see him in different lineups, or I can see him mesh in Mike Brown's style of play before we get the season started. But make no mistake, Josh Hart is going to be a huge part of this team going forward. He's absolutely needed. And anybody who says he's not is fooling themselves. Josh Hart is needed on this team for sure. Now, we don't have any updates as far as who's making the team, who's not making the team. I do think it's becoming more clear, though, that Malcolm Brogdon's going to be on the team. It's whether or not the Knicks are going to make more room to add a Landry Shamet or maybe even a Garrison Matthews. Bacome Dadier and Tyler Kolek didn't really do much this preseason. I mean, obviously it's only 2 games, but they haven't really shown why the Knicks would keep them around, I would say. They haven't really added anything that can say, all right, these guys are ready to contribute right now. There is no doubt about it that this Knicks team is a win-now team. This team's window is wide open, and I don't think Leon Rose and company are thinking about the future this year. I think they are willing to trade whoever, whenever, to get whatever piece they want to fit this roster. Now, getting rid of Dadier and Kolek to bring on Shamet and Matthews would mean that you're really just filling the back end of your rotation, if that, right? You're adding 2 players who might not even get playing time. They might be DNPs for half the year, and you're sacrificing talent for that. But, again, this is a win-now season for the Knicks. They've never been more win-now than they've been this year. They are going all in. This feels like an all-in year for the New York Knicks, and it wouldn't surprise me after 2 preseason games if you're trading Dadier and Shamet and Kolek somewhere to make room for Shamet and Garrison Matthews. Because I think it's obvious that Brogdon's going to be on this team. I think it's obvious he's going to be running with the second unit. He's going to get playing time. He's in this rotation alongside Jordan Clarkson, alongside Deuce McBride. So very interesting to look out for there. I mean, obviously there's a couple preseason games left, so we're not done with the preseason. A lot of basketball has to be played. I'm sure Mike Brown is going to experiment in different ways with different lineups. We'll see that. But one of those things where it's looking obvious from the gate that, hey, you know, the young guys might be out here, and we might have a couple of vets who have non-guaranteed contracts right now on the New York Knicks heading into the season. All right, listen, subscribe to the YouTube channel, drop a comment, like the video. Let me know what your biggest impression out of Abu Dhabi was. What was your favorite lineup? Who impressed you the most? Who impressed you the least? I mean, for me, I'm not going to be honest with you. Jordan Clarkson's shot selection drove me a little crazy. People were... I wasn't a big fan of the signing to start, to be honest with you. Like, the first day I wasn't a big fan of the signing. People talked me into it. I do think they need some punch off the bench, specifically because of that. So I'm not against it now. Looking forward to Jordan playing in New York, but his shot selection did rear its ugly head, and it reminded me why I didn't want him on the team in the first place. So that's my vote right there. But overall, I thought all the Knicks played well. I thought the Knicks played well in general. I thought the ball movement was good to see. I thought the lineups were interesting. But I want to know your opinion. What do you think was the most interesting thing to come out of Abu Dhabi? What was your favorite thing to come out of Abu Dhabi? What was your least favorite thing to come out of Abu Dhabi? What are you looking forward to heading in to the 2025-2026 Knicks basketball seasons? Drop a comment, like the video, and make sure you subscribe. We're trying to build a large community of Knicks fans right here, an objective community of Knicks fans rooting for the team going into the most anticipated season in New York Knicks basketball history since the 70s, since the 90s, since the Ewing era, right? This is the first time I think the Knicks can win a championship in my adult life, and it's really exciting. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like, drop a comment. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Knicks Latest. Peace.